Do you ever wonder what's real and what's just smoke in the wind? Down here in Texas, we've heard the whispers. They say a president fell in Dallas and the truth got buried with him. They say men walked on the moon, but some folks swear it was all lights and cameras. There's talk of secret deals in desert towns of flying saucers hiding where the tumbleweeds roll. They say the truth is out there, but out here under these white Texas skies, we know the truth ain't free. It's locked up tight behind steel doors and silver tongues. So saddle up, 'cause tonight we're diving deep. Dust on the highway, neon signs glow, stories in the shadows that nobody knows. From the oil fields to the old ghost towns, truth rides the wind, but it never slows down. Deep dive facts, where the shadows talk back. In the heart of Texas, truth rides the cracks. Dig through the dirt, past the lies and the tracks. We're chasing down secrets. Deep dive facts. They talk about.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Box, the Deep Dive Facts edition. Tonight, we're going to be talking about something that was conveniently forgot to put in our history books. And we're going to let you know the reason why. So let me get everybody on out here. Well, that's me. I don't want to push that button. Okay. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Oh, I did it again. Look at me. Stop pushing buttons, Brenda.
Yeah, it's fun. We're flipping around.
I know, right? How you doing?
Doing good. We had a warm up,
Woohoo!
like up in the 20s. Woo, we're not in the zeros.
Yeah. Chad.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. Headache. Sorry. Got a headache.
Uh-oh.
Not feeling too great, but I'm here.
You should have let me know.
Oh,
Push
I
the
don't know
kids
what
in
it
the
is. Yeah. I thought it was just a caffeine thing, not drinking coffee today. And so I had a cup, and so the headache's better,
Allergies.
but I still don't feel right. I'm like,
Al-
okay, maybe it was.
Allergies. Are you getting sick from being out there in the woods taking
I don't
peanut
know.
butter to Bigfoot?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we hit our warm spells now. It's going to be nice and cold at night, but then 80 degrees during the day. So, welcome to bipolar Texas. That's the way that works. Hi, Juan. So, tonight we're going to get into Tartaria, the mud floods, the resets. This is stuff that was never put in our history books. I don't know why they thought they could hide it once they came out with the internet, because it made it so much easier to find this stuff. We all knew Chad had looked around at some of these buildings, and the way they were built for free energy. They were built for sound, vibrations. The big cathedrals back then, they weren't churches. They were healing centers. So we all know that our bodies heal with vibration and certain sounds. Now, they took a lot of music. Nowadays, a lot of the music is made with different tones, so it doesn't heal us. A lot of the boom boxes that everybody hears, and everybody likes that beat, boom, boom, boom. That's not good for us. That's not the right hertz for our body. So the cathedrals all had the pipe organs, the copper, I guess it was copper pipe. I think they were copper pipe organs. I believe they were copper. And the sounds that they shot off of those made things better. But there's a lot more to it. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in this just because it sounds like a good time.
Yeah, the way they made the buildings
Yeah.
too with the organs, the way the sun would come in
Yes.
and through the stained glass windows was also another form of healing
Yep.
too, that went along with the frequencies and the vibrations of the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the buildings too. I mean, they were built as a circuit, but also the cities were as well. So
Yes.
when you start to look at the canals and everything else, the whole entire city would be a grid or a circuit, you know, and
Yeah. So we have a few shorts that talks about the buildings because I don't really think that a lot of some of the buildings they have now, they're all square. If you ever notice the buildings, most of them are square. The older buildings that were wired for sound and free energy, they were all round.
Yep.
And they were made that way for a purpose. And they all have the long things that were on the top, the long poles sticking out of them. That was to collect the free energy from the ether. So when they figured out that, well, they weren't making any money off of this, our good old buddy JP Morgan and the Rothschilds, who were in charge of a lot of this stuff, you know, way back in the day, Tesla had gone and told these people, JP Morgan was one of them, that he found a way to be able to harness free energy. So they did it, I think, even before Tesla, they had it. And I think they just got smart and figured it all out. Well, JP Morgan was like, yeah, we can't do that. So he got with Thomas Edison, apparently. So they say. Or whoever, where they could harness that energy and they could charge people for it.
Yeah, Edison is dirty. They call it the dirty energy of
Mhm.
that. You know, I was wondering if they were thinking that Tesla was from Tartaria, like his family lineage, and still had that consciousness awareness, and they were testing him out to see if he was for real or not. I mean, that's just my thought.
I think you are correct, because I think that, you know, the Tartarian error, which was something we were never ever taught about, you have to actually dig and know what you're looking for to be able to find it.
Right.
We always encourage people to do research, do their own research, but getting into Tartaria, the mud floods and the resets and all of that is a very interesting topic when you start looking into it. You're not going to find a lot of it on Google. You have to be careful where you look, because even a lot of our stuff that is put out there, it is altered for information. Alexa,
apologize.
don't even ask her. You can't even ask that bitch. She was taught to lie. So
Okay, and GPT too, you know, because it goes by academia and what's peer reviewed, and so what you find is like when they were looking at these buildings, you know, there is a history of people questioning it, because like there's the librarians in the New York City library that were you know what they do, they sit there and um, document everything, all the little details, and so they had to go
Right.
through all the pictures from the 1900s that they had there on the metal plates and everything, and they're just like, why are these buildings half buried, you know?
Yeah.
um
Well, and a lot of these buildings, and people don't really know it, but a lot of these buildings were built in the 1800s, some of them in the 1700s.
allegedly.
Yeah. And, you know, you're talking horse and buggy days where they didn't really have tools like we have now.
No.
But when you look at some of these buildings, it's like, oh my God, there is no way that they did this with nothing but a hammer and a freaking nail and carried this stuff around on horse and buggy. So
Yeah.
where
Okay.
did this come from?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what you mean by that is because these square blocks of marble and stuff, um, they, even today it would be difficult to get them that close and that straight with the laser technology that we have and the type of tools
Yeah.
that we have, and yet they were just whipping them out. I mean, I think the Empire State Building went up 13 floors a day or something they were claiming.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and they
it's
didn't have
just
cranes back then
Yeah.
well,
either.
they kinda did. They kinda had some cranes and they kinda had some
Yeah.
steam
But
shovels, but, not like what we have
not
today.
like,
No,
yeah, not to be
no.
able to produce
It's
these
like
buildings. So I'm going to show a clip that has got a few of these buildings in it. And I've got two shorts for this. So, hi, Chris. I do have my research. My dog ate it. Oh, you
Oh,
might get
no.
an F, Chris. You might want to think about that one. But so it's got a lot of these a lot of these buildings and stuff that they had back then. They were fascinating. I mean, fascinating. And
yeah,
Chad had found quite a bit of them that where they showed like the inside of these mansions where people lived and how they got their energy. A lot of it was from, what they had fireplaces that you didn't throw wood in. They had big
uranium.
metal grids
Yeah.
over them. Yeah. So people found ways to do this and sustain these big, beautiful buildings, cathedrals, and all that without paying enormous electric bills. Well, they got it for free because they knew how to do it. But they keep that away from us now because if people really knew how to harness that free energy, boy, they wouldn't be making any money at all.
Yeah, I'd
You
be
know?
living in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Stuck with
I have
with
my
free
little
energy,
cabin out in the woods.
with a
Get away
little with a
from
little
me.
hot tub somewhere,
Yeah,
way, way out there.
there you go. So let me bring up a few of these and listen to what they all have to say.
People with horses and buggies build buildings like these. Intricate stonework, perfect symmetry, towering interiors that rise stories high, all constructed long before modern machinery, power tools, or electric cranes. We're told these structures were built with rope, pulleys, and manual labor, but when you really look at them, that explanation starts to feel incomplete. Cathedrals, courthouses, libraries, and city halls weren't simple buildings. They used massive stone blocks cut with precision, vaulted ceilings balanced by complex geometry, walls so thick they regulate temperature naturally. Some projects supposedly took generations to complete, yet many cities appear fully built within a surprisingly short period of time. And these weren't isolated examples. The same architectural language appears across continents, the same proportions, the same materials, the same level of detail. This raises a question. Were these buildings simply constructed or assembled using methods we no longer fully understand? Some historians suggest the builders possessed advanced knowledge of geometry, load distribution, acoustics, and materials, not advanced in a modern electrical sense, but advanced in understanding how stone, space, and physics work together.
So that building there, and if you look on the inside of it, and he's correct, how all of that, hey Rue, how all of that was constructed on the inside, and beautiful work. I mean, it's some of that we can't even produce now. They can't make buildings like that. Why? Is it that they can't make them or they don't want to make them?
Well, they can't even really repair them.
Yeah.
No,
Takes
I don't
forever.
think they can. I don't think they can't make them, because what I was watching, talking about, how the mud floods, and then some of the buildings have been like there's this much underneath, but
Yeah.
then they go and they refurbish up and above it, making it look like they built it, but it looks like on uneven ground or the lower windows. And now people are starting to dig down and starting to discover that there's more building under the buildings that they said they made or not made.
Woo, I'm glad you guys are doing okay. Did you go out and collect all those poor iguanas that fell out of the trees and wrap them up in towels and keep them warm, Woo? That you're out there. You should have been doing that. Take care of them iguanas. Just saying.
We have an iguana. Yeah, you got to save the Kenshin's family.
Yeah, save the poor iguanas. I told Glenn that. He said, now, if they tell everybody in Florida, be very careful because you might get hit with something that you think fall from the sky. And it actually doesn't fall from the sky. It falls from the trees, and it's the iguanas. Apparently, they get cold and they can't hang on anymore, and they fall down.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, how sad. Those poor iguanas. But I'm over here worried about the iguanas. But yeah, so a lot of the pictures, like Chad had showed before, I'm in the trees daily, but no iguanas. No iguanas that far north, huh? But the house, the inside of the mansions that you were showing that one time, I don't know if you still have those pictures, but they were, we would think nowadays if we've seen these inside of these houses, God, that's so gaudy. Yeah, what is going on? But they were beautiful.
Yeah.
Not like people would design them today or decorate them today, but they did them out there for a reason. I mean, they were getting their free energy. These people could take the land, build a house on it, pay for it to be built, have the best builders, and the harmonics that they put in there, and even just the designs of the little round windows, and everything was a conductor in these houses. And the amazing thing about it was these people had money because they didn't have to spend it on electric bills and different stuff like that. Water. They had running water. It was from the land, so they didn't have to pay for it. We got screwed. That's what I'm going to say. We got pretty screwed.
I think that they found some of those houses and just cleaned them up a little bit and claimed it as they had a good builder. Because remember, some of the windows were so big in the staircases.
Yeah.
Were just in the way the ceilings were, how high they were, and the fireplaces were a lot bigger than the people.
Yes. And I think about this. I look at the design of the Capitol. I look at the design of the White House. How much you want to bet that their water and their energy is free?
Oh, yeah. And I bet you that they are a lot older than what they lead us to know.
Well, I know that at one point they had said, I don't remember what year it was, that they said the White House was burned down and rebuilt. Was it really, though? Was it really?
I think so. Nowadays, no. I don't.
Was it really?
Yeah. There's a lot of fires and things were a lot of things were rebuilt allegedly. So for sure. As a matter of fact, I have I sent you some pictures.
Yeah.
Let me talk about those fires just a little bit.
Yeah, you have the whole list of fires.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
yeah, because
so we had the New York City Great Fire of 1835, 17 blocks. New York City Great Fire of 1845, 345 buildings. Detroit Great Fire of 1805, most of the town. Pittsburgh Great Fire of 1845, 1,000 plus buildings. Chicago Great Fire of 1871, we all know about that one. 17,000 structures, left 100,000 homeless. Boston Great Great Boston Fire of 1872, 65 acres, 776 towns. This is how resets are done, folks.
Yep.
And then Baltimore, Great Baltimore Fire, 1984, destroyed 1,500 buildings. San Francisco, 1906 earthquake plus fires, 25,000 buildings. Seattle, Great Seattle Fire, 1899, 29 blocks. And then Portland, Great Fire, 18,000 or 1,800. Sorry, 1,800. And Atlanta, Great Fire, 1970, 1,900. And then San Francisco, Great Fire of 1851. So it doesn't say how many, but those are fires. And then you have your floods, and then you have your earthquakes, and then you have all sorts of things, you know.
Well, and then, our recent ones, like the fires that they had in Hawaii, and then we have the Palisades. Look at all that. And, I'm going to tell you that was done, and hopefully it doesn't happen like they want
Well,
it.
look
I
at the
think,
Gaza Strip.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this stuff is done deliberately so that they could rebuild their own little cities. Um,
Yep.
the resets that we're talking about, okay, they can't do them like they used to back in the day, where they could wipe so many things out and so many people. And one of the things that they did was where the orphan train came from, is they took these kids from their parents. Okay. Their parents were put into insane asylums. Their brains were scrambled. Okay. And they took these kids and they put them in these rebuilt cities with very little supervision, but they were taught the way they wanted our ancestors to remember things. Okay. And this is what they did. This is how they set people back. Like, who knows?
Okay.
If they get away with doing it again, are they going to abolish the internet for people again?
They also had major name changes back then to
Yeah.
not connect people to Tartaria. You
Mhm.
know, it was a big thing back then, was changing your last names for one reason or another, whether it be by force, we don't know, or if there was a reason behind it. But a lot of these kids, and especially orphans, a lot of their history was retold to them, and that's why genealogy is a little difficult to maneuver, because it's been manipulated some.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is something that has gone on for a millennium. I mean, this has been earth going. I
Mhm.
mean, as long as humans have walked, or even giants or everything else have walked on this planet, this is something that they have done consecutively. How it gets passed down on this, who knows? They say that the people who actually run this world aren't really human. Well, if this has
Yeah,
been something that has been ongoing for so long, I can almost believe that.
me too.
Yeah. It's
So,
like humanity gets to a point where they start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, this is not how we're supposed to be, and humans are supposed to be. And then it's like too many of us. So
Yeah.
they gotta reset everything, grab the kids, re-educate them.
yeah. Our workers are getting too big for their britches. They're getting too smart. They're figuring this stuff out. We need to do something again. So, but this time, like I said, it's going to be a lot harder for them, because there are a lot more. 80% of the world's population has figured this stuff out. So tell me, how are they going to get away with it this time? Because there's too many people that can revolt this time. We can all just get up and say, oh, hell no, we're done. We're not doing this anymore.
Wish everybody would stand up and do that. I'm like,
I mean, if we would stop fighting with each other, we just might figure this shit out.
well, that's the
Yeah.
propaganda that they put out there. And then people listen, and then they
Yes.
go and, oh, yeah.
And they tell the rest of us who have done research, who know this stuff and get it, oh, you guys are just crazy. Yeah, okay, we're crazy. Whatever, what makes sense. Hi, Jason. So here is a picture. Is this inside one of the houses, or was this one of the boy,
I
look
sent
at
it
that.
to you. I'm not sure.
Look
Yeah,
at
sorry.
that. Holy crap.
It's pretty.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well,
Did I send you that too?
Eels.
yeah.
Eels.
Shut up with the
Okay, wait a
eels.
minute. I didn't send you any of this, right?
Hang on. Stop it.
Oh, you're going through your stuff, aren't you?
No, I'm trying to go to through your pictures, but they just don't want to. They want to be a pain in the butt.
You know, so while we look at these pictures and look how these parasites
Why
were
won't
living back in the
They
day.
won't. Hi guys. They won't. They won't go individually. I mean, in a. Oh, hang on. Let me try it this way. Oh, look at that pool.
Yeah, that's definitely a mansion,
Oh, I
and that's
remember
the
that.
outside pool
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
with its pillars and its everything. Yeah,
Yep. Oh, look. They
that's
even
the inside.
had.
That's the same mansion. Yeah.
Wow. But all of their construction and stuff, and look at all their fireplaces back then were humongous. I mean, you could fit bodies in them. That's ridiculous, but beautiful nonetheless. And then the way they're built on the inside in here. Now, and in between all of this, there are patterns and all of that stuff. And this is all stuff they did back then. What do they do now? They just put drywall up and just,
Yeah.
okay, well, here
Okay.
it is.
So we were building these buildings, and at the same time, there were folks living out on the prairie, and this is true. They had wooden houses.
Yeah.
Nothing like this kind of construction. Their lifestyle was you had about 9 kids, and you expected death. At least 4 of them, or half of them, would probably not make it. And that was very difficult in those times for those people, because it's hard for a mother to lose a child at 4 months or a child at 10 months, and especially when it's different causes and you have to grieve differently for each one's different suffering. And right. And you had to follow the kids around the farm and make sure they didn't get any harm done, and you were inside trying to smoke meat and do all the things you had to do. The husband was outside working until he could drop, because that's how he dealt with the misery. And yet people were living like this inside
Yeah.
these places. It's a stark difference, and the things that would kill them back then, there was smallpox between 1775 and 1782 that wiped out 130,000. There's yellow fever. It wiped out about 5,000 in a city of about, in Philadelphia, 50,000. Cholera. So there's these things, tuberculosis,
Now
pneumonia,
most of that came about because
diphtheria too, and
yeah,
malaria.
and
which
most
was-
of that came about when they started doing vaccinations.
Yeah.
Well, some of it was, a lot of it came out. A lot of them were dying before the vaccinations. Vaccinations came out in about 1880. So vaccinations had some good, but there's also something a little off with them, as we all
And
know.
I think back then they were probably better. Like with me, I've
Wow.
only had one my entire life. And that
Yeah.
was because I went from Germany to here. It was smallpox. And when they gave it to me, I still have the scar for it. They had told my mother I would never have to have another one ever in my life. So I think that back then they weren't thinking about, well, we'll just take these people out with, this medicine. So I think it was a lot better then.
It might
And
have
now they just use God knows anything that comes off the bottom of a shoe to,
Really.
you know.
There's 70. They got it up to 72. 72 for the new babies and up. 18.
Well,
Yeah.
now I hear they're going to start reducing that again. They're going
Right.
to put it in because a
Right.
lot of that is not needed.
This
know.
picture here, where are the plugs for the lamps? Remember
There
we
aren't
talked
any.
about that?
Yep, there
Yeah,
aren't any.
especially the
There's
ones
no
on the
plugs.
table.
There's
There's
no
no
plugs.
plugs.
There's nothing. No wires. No plugs. Yeah. So, kind
Yeah.
of makes you think. Hey, let's see.
Yeah.
And look at this. Now you look at this
That's-
ceiling. There's
Yeah,
those
the
patterns, Chad.
Yep.
You can get
Resonators.
acoustics out of those ceilings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Compared
And
to the wooden shacks they were building out in the prairie, I mean, it was just, this is clearly two different. They were,
this looks like an
who built
office.
this? You know, who built
Yeah,
this? Not
who
the
built
people
this?
out on the prairie, you know. And so we inherited all this. We did not create all this, is the theory.
Right. Sure did.
And the parasites are living like this.
And then the murals
Wow.
up on the wall.
Yes, look at those.
This is all the
Wow.
same mansion, by the way.
Yeah. Incredible. You know what I don't see, however? I don't see big screen TVs. So
No, but that
there's something we
fireplace is
got
pretty
out of
big.
that. Yes. That must be an outside. I bet that goes to the pool.
Hmm.
Look at that.
Those chandeliers are massive.
And this
Yeah.
is just one mansion out of many that were around.
Wow.
So it just gives you an idea that we get to see the outsides, but the
Look at
insides
the
are always,
look at these ceilings.
yeah.
And they did this in cathedrals and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I remember with Steve, we had went into like a Google Earth search, and we went to Russia, and we could go down and look inside some of the buildings they had there, some of the museums, and you could tell those buildings were already there. They were built like this. They were gorgeous. And so some of these buildings still stand. They just say, well, oh, it was built here or there. Really? Where's the builders? Who
How
are the
tall those
carpenters?
windows are. Yeah.
I
it's
know.
just- and how high the ceilings are, you know, not built for a people like us. And who built them? You know, it might have been the giants. And we'll
Kind of.
discuss that in a little bit. We'll debate about how long ago that would have been, where they would have been existing. I think it might have been further back than we were thinking, or
Yeah.
not. I don't know.
Yeah.
They had pictures of like really super tall people here and there spread out in the 1800s too.
Well, and the doors. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the doors are bigger than the houses we live in today. They're taller
Right.
than those houses.
Yeah.
Why? Who needed to walk through a door that big?
Out in Europe, they had to cut the smaller doors so we can get in.
Yeah, right.
Even the
Wasn't
amount of
previous
detail,
here.
yeah, they put onto the inside and the designs there. And now you see these designs that you're seeing,
Yeah,
you know, they try to just say are ornate and stuff like that, but you can find this exact same replica over in Thailand, down in Australia, down in the southern tip of America.
yeah,
People that had no, and all these buildings were erected around the same time, they're claiming around the 1800s. And yet they had yet they mathematically got everything precise. All, you know, it just doesn't fit the narrative. There's no way to coordinate this scale
Ma-
of building everything the same. And that was what we're referring to as Tartaria the time before. And
Maybe-
Tartaria in itself took over cities and improved them. You know, it took over nations, and so it was spreading. So there was
maybe
other-
in one point in life, people were taught properly,
Mm.
and we have just, for so many generations, have been only taught certain things because they didn't, you know, when the Rothschilds took over the education system, they didn't want people knowing everything, so they only allowed you to
Mhm.
learn so much. So
Yeah.
we've dumbed down throughout the years. So maybe back then they taught them this stuff, and then they just decided that, hey, we can't be letting people know that, you know, this stuff produces free energy. This stuff produces healing. We can't let
Yeah.
people know this.
And it gets into the material too, because AI will argue you. Don't
Yeah.
fool yourself, you know.
AI
But
will
it
argue.
can't. But it can't go but so far, because, you know, the wood is treated with techniques that we don't use and don't know how to even preserve it in the way that this wood in here is preserved. The mortar that they used as cement, came from different areas and from rock that wasn't even in America. And some of the cement they don't even know. It doesn't. We can't even make cement that well that lasts that long in those white buildings.
Yeah.
It has a missing ingredient, as a matter of fact. That they don't know what it is.
Chris said that he always blamed the Rothschilds when his grades were bad. Yeah, me too. Smart ass.
Look at how small that bed looks
I
compared to that
know.
room.
God, I would love to have a bedroom that big.
And the
Jesus.
mirror, how huge it is and up high.
Yeah. What are you gonna look through that for? Well, I don't know. There's a little chair there, but still,
Should be on the ceiling.
I know, right? A normal person cannot sit in this chair and still be able to use this mirror, I wouldn't think.
No.
A giant,
mirror.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but they couldn't sleep in that bed if they were that big either.
No.
So that's kind of screwed up right there. I think they were like, hey, maybe nobody will notice, right? Yeah. The buildings and stuff back then were just gorgeous. I mean, and let me ask you, okay? If you look, there's a lot of gold also
I was gonna say, yeah,
around these.
a lot of gold.
Now this is coming from way back when, did they have gold paint?
I think it's gold leafing or something, but that's what they're claiming. Yeah, and especially like with the fibers that these folks used to dress in, they had golden fibers inside their
Clothing?
yeah. And so like back in those days, for purple to become about, you'd have to crush like about, I think it was 10,000 pounds of mollusk shells.
Dang.
It was an outrageous number of mollusk shells, and where you'd get the color pink from and where you got this from, and then to make the golden thread so thin that you could weave it into clothes is not a technology we had back then.
Gold's
Right.
a conductor, too.
But they definitely use leaf gold plating and stuff, I think, or something
Yeah.
on this stuff. But yeah, you're right. Like
Yeah, it's a conductor of energy.
before
It's a
time.
mineral. Yep. Incredible. And just think,
Mhm.
all these
And-
years we've been
And
lied
to
to.
weave those clothings took months. And those ladies would wear different dresses. Some of them had 15,000, not lying, dresses. 15,000.
Wow.
So where was the capacity to build all these buildings and make all those dresses and afford this lifestyle that people were living back then? There wasn't. They inherited all that stuff. That's why they had all those
Right.
dresses. And I think the Tartarians, their style was they would go to the beach in full dress wear, like dresses and wear. And I recall back in the days, those are what you see people on the beach in, is in their
Yeah.
dresses and stuff like that. So maybe that was just the very end of that Tartarian era.
Okay. I need to. All right. So I have another clip. And this guy kind of explains what I guess we're trying to say, how people never questioned things, They just didn't. People just stopped doing that. And you should, today, we know you should question everything, every single thing, because that's what makes you think for yourself, is when you question things.
Chris has
Ever
said
set out-
that one of the paintings would fall, it would kill a person in their sleep
Yeah, right?
because they were so big.
I'm just saying.
Question the history books. But then I saw the buildings, the impossible glass domes spanning acres, the terracotta palaces with carvings we couldn't replicate today, the exhibition halls erected in months that would take us years. This wasn't primitive construction with horse-drawn carts. This was something inherited. And then, like clockwork, the disasters arrived. Fires that burned entire cities to ash. Floods burying first floors overnight across continents. earthquakes timed with surgical precision. Ask yourself, what are the odds that every major city harboring these impossibilities suffered catastrophic destruction within the same narrow window? And with each disaster, the cascade began. Construction techniques vanished, architectural plans burned, master craftsmen went silent, population records fragmented, census data that doesn't add up, orphan trains carrying hundreds of thousands from nowhere, asylums swelling with the confused entire family lines, erased. And that's when I stumbled onto the question that shattered everything. If there was a different world before ours, a civilization we've been told doesn't exist, where did all the people go? Not the buildings, not the architecture, the people, the witnesses, the survivors. Where are they? It began with photographs, late 1800 street scenes from cities across the world. San Francisco, Melbourne, Moscow, Buenos Aires, Chicago. I was researching urban development when I noticed something peculiar in image after image. Streets being excavated, buildings with their first floors partially buried, workers digging out entire city blocks. Official captions called it grading or street elevation projects. But the scale was wrong, the frequency was wrong, the timing was wrong. In San Francisco alone, between 1850 and 1915, the city appears to have excavated and regraded itself multiple times, not minor adjustments, entire neighborhoods. And here's the strangest part. Nobody seemed to think this was unusual. No protests from property owners, no public outcry about the massive expense, no detailed records of where all that earth came from or went to. Just thousands of workers, day after day, moving incomprehensible amounts of soil, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. This raises a simple but critical question. If an event, or series of events, had covered substantial portions of cities worldwide in mud and debris, where are the first-hand accounts? Where are the survivors' stories? The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across continents and decades. I started compiling reports from newspapers, municipal records, historical societies. What I found was not a conspiracy of silence, but something more subtle and more disturbing, a systematic absence of explanation. Take Chicago after the 1871 fire. The city rebuilds with astonishing speed, hundreds of elaborate buildings, including structures that would take years to construct, using conventional methods appearing in less than a decade. But when you look for detailed construction records, architectural plans, worker testimonies, the documentation is sparse, inconsistent. As if someone had taken great care to record that buildings went up, but not how or who built them. Or consider the great orphan trains of America, which operated from 1854 to 1929. The official narrative tells us that 250,000 children, possibly more, were transported from eastern cities to homes in the West and Midwest. We're told these were street children, offspring of immigrants, casualties of urban poverty. But the deeper I went into the records, the more the numbers stopped making sense. 250,000 children. That's not a social program. That's a demographic reset. And that's where the asylum records become impossible to ignore. Between 1840 and 1880, something extraordinary happened in the United States alone. The construction of hundreds of massive psychiatric institutions. These weren't small facilities. They were palatial structures, many built in that same ornate style we see in old world fairs and grand civic buildings. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the Athens Lunatic Asylum, the Buffalo State Asylum, the Oregon State Hospital, on and on. The official explanation is that this was a progressive movement, a reform effort to treat the mentally ill humanely. That explanation collapses here. The speed of construction, the architectural sophistication, the sheer number of beds, all of this happened during a period when we're told America was just emerging from frontier status. But here's what really troubles me. Who filled these asylums? The records, where they exist, show thousands upon thousands of patients with strikingly similar diagnoses. Melancholia, acute mania, amnesia, confusion of thought. Many with no recorded history prior to admission, no family records, no documented origins, just first names, sometimes surnames, and a diagnosis that seems designed to explain away one thing: memory loss. What if these weren't treatment facilities at all? What if they were containment centres? Think about it. If a catastrophic event had disrupted civilization on a massive scale, burying cities, displacing populations, destroying infrastructure, what would the aftermath look like? You'd have survivors wandering, disoriented, traumatized, people telling stories about the world before, stories that didn't match the new narrative being constructed, stories that had to be managed, not eliminated, not through violence, but redirected, contained, medicalized. What better way to discredit a witness than to institutionalize them, to label their memories as delusions, to mix genuine survivors with patients who truly needed care, creating a system where truth and madness became indistinguishable. The records show that many asylum patients were committed for reasons that seem absurd today. Political excitement, novel reading, religious enthusiasm, nostalgia. That last one appears again and again in intake records. Nostalgia. An excessive longing for the past, or perhaps a longing for a past that officially never existed. If you're finding this investigation compelling, consider following this channel for more deep dives in.
Okay.
Wow, that's one way to erase the memory or mix it up. Jeez.
Yes. And I sometimes sit and think to myself, is it what they may try to do again? I mean,
Well, it seems like they've done that, mixing up the memories with a lot of people,
Yeah.
where they, no, this didn't happen. If someone's getting memories, starting to talk about whatever
Right.
incident, and then yank into the sane asylum for a bit.
And we have so many people, huh?
Like Britney Spears, Ariana Grande, Justin
Yeah.
Bieber, they kind of go through those things.
Oh, they had a lot of people in Hollywood that's, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that those were more MK Ultra type things, because we know that exists.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I just
Mind
wasn't going.
control and
Oh,
but
that's true.
yeah, so they perfected what they did back then. I think that they over the years they've been able to perfect it. So,
And what they did with asylums too is just bothering, because I was in Guam for a little bit, and that's an island out there in the between Australia and Japan, and they had a sane asylum that set up on the bluff line, and it looked really creepy because it was closed down. The ceilings were collapsing in it, and nobody wanted to go in it because they thought it was haunted. Well, one day it was raining. I ran in there and decided to explore it because nobody would go in there with me. So I did it by myself. And there was still like files that were left there with paperwork. There was letters inside the dresser. There was jars inside the refrigerator. I don't want to know what it
I
was.
would have been collecting all that paperwork and files.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's what I was thinking. It's like, what do they have?
I've searched day and night for a picture of it too, and I can't find one online. I think they must have torn it down or something because that was a good 20 years ago. But they had built another institute, so they just relocated everybody over there. But it looked pretty dark. I mean, it was like tables that you could strap people down in and chairs and stuff like that. That just, I don't know what they did. But
That'd be interesting, the timeline of like when these asylums were
Right.
created and how many around the world, to.
It's kind of like a horror story asylum. You don't go in crazy, but but by the end, they get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you come out,
you're crazy by the time you get out. That's all.
Yeah, there's like something etched on the walls of one of these asylums too, and it says, "I was not crazy."
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And when you sit and you think about it, how sad, because possibly those people were truth seekers. Those people paid attention. They
Right.
researched. They looked into things.
It was
So
us.
yes, it was us. They put people like us in there.
Yeah.
It's like, because we're
Yeah.
not crazy. I mean, we just use a different part of our brain because we want to think for ourselves. And you have some people that think, it's like I had somebody tell me, I was talking about how in New York, how they don't like waking up to that sound of the call for prayer. And this person that I talked to said, oh, like that's a bad thing. Now, this is a person that told me, don't ever talk about God because I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in the devil. But you can defend the call for prayer.
That's interesting.
Pick your lane. Okay, pick your lane. That's all I can say is pick your lane.
He's right
No,
in the fence
Jason, you're
just
not
in
crazy.
case.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like these people today, they can't make their mind up on what the hell they want to believe in, what they don't want to believe in. And, you've got us that are trying to take it step by step by step to explain, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is what has happened in the past. This is what is going on now. And you need to pay attention
Yeah.
because the problem that we are in now, it's our fault. It's our parents' faults. Because, like I've said before, whenever something stupid happened that the government did, and they would do a lot of it just to see how far they could push it. Okay. And whenever they did something, instead of us bucking up and saying, hell no, we were like, oh, it's stupid government. And nothing ever got done. Nobody ever said anything. So the predicament we are in, it's our fault. It's the people who decided not to do anything.
Well, in the 1940s and 50s, they complied. I mean, everybody complied to everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is before rock and roll.
Yeah, don't listen to that.
People were
Yeah.
stiff. I mean, it was rigid. We needed rock and roll to like break. It's like Footloose. We needed it to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
people dancing and being wild and crazy. But it was also a CIA thing, I believe,
Yeah.
along with disco.
And yes, because the CIA, the Pentagon has got one of their sections in the Pentagon
Mhm.
deals with movies and music. Why? A part of the CIA is in there. Why? What for? Why does the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, have to have anything to do with the making of movies, the writing of movies,
Right.
and the tones, the sounds of music? They ain't got no
Mhm.
business in that. I thought
They're in
that's
the
what
news,
Hollywood
too.
was created for, but Hollywood is, I'm gonna say 96% CIA. I think a lot of the writers, like I know Steven
The
Spielberg,
Golden
was
Girls. I heard
CIA asset. Huh?
Rosen Island or whatever her name was on Golden
Rose?
Girls.
Yeah.
Betty White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard she was CIA.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even
So,
like your news people too. They're
yes.
everywhere. It's like control the
Yeah.
narrative.
And watch
Control
them
the narrative.
tweak out. That's a fun one to Google search. MKU tweaking out or whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
Right?
where their eyes start like looking this way and that way, and the other one's staring straight at you, and their eyelids almost flip inside out. It looks like it's just weird.
Are they human? I mean, so we've got these
Okay.
pictures here.
Yeah, this is one picture, right? And it's just the first photograph. For some reason, it intrigues me, and I don't know why I'm sharing it, except that I want to see what you see in it, because I think what was described when it was first introduced to me, I also see in it, and that's one of the first photographs ever taken. So this is in France. This is an arrest of somebody, like a prisoner during wartime or something like that. But when you look at him, he just his hairstyle, the way he's dressed, the
Got a
way he's
cigarette
just
in his
standing,
mouth.
the way he's just standing there, he seems like
Yeah.
to me like Tartarian. So
And then you
I
have
think
a
this is the
woman.
last of the Tartarians, one of the first photographs, that we got getting arrested there.
Yeah. And then you have a woman back here who's being held back by soldiers, I guess it is. I don't
Oh
know.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
he's
have
got
to
his arm around her.
Yeah. So
this recognized as one of the first photographs. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
But
interesting.
the way
Oh,
he just looks, I mean, in his haircut, he is definitely
he looks
and
like
it's
Bronson. Bronson. Charles Bronson, is that his name?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what he looks like.
But for a photograph, it speaks to me a lot, especially all those like hoodlums around them and it speaks to the times, I guess. That was the end of Tartaria.
Yeah.
When was that
And
photograph taken?
it's the first one ever, I think 1847.
18. See, I'm just going by the timelines. You've been rattling off a lot of like 1830, 30, 40, 47.
Yep.
So,
The main
so-
timeline that things started from is 1776. That's the main one. That
Okay.
everything started changing, and that's when, yeah, that's before that. It's a little hard to follow, but the reset took full force then. The question is though, okay, so like you asked ChatGPT about like houses and buildings being buried up to their first floor, or second floor, and
Mhm.
and it says street levels were raised. Okay, so street levels were raised in, and I'll tell you those cities. Um, let's see, the best. Oh, those were the libraries that went down. I wanted to discuss those. So, Chicago raised its streets. Sacramento raised its streets and sidewalks. Galveston, Seattle raised its streets. Boston raised its streets. Now, the thing is when you look into this even deeper, yes, they put a lot of man work in it. Yes, it's well documented. Yes, they have some buildings up on stilts, and the buildings that couldn't be put up on stilts, they just kind of buried below the level. But there's so much more that defies explanation when you go beyond those zones and you still find buildings buried
Yeah.
up to the first floor. AI is going to cling to the fact that it's documented and yes, this is how it's done, but it doesn't recognize that it's happened in every town all across America. And not only that, but the sediment that they claim. Okay, so usually when you do a raising of the streets, you have to put in fill, and it's like rock and gravel and all that kind of stuff. So you'll see pictures of it. They have. Like what looks like dump trucks on a railroad tracks with rock in it, and they're filling in and they're raising the level up and everything like that.
Right.
What you're finding on these buildings though, all across, is that there's a sediment layer there that you can't just get from fill. And it's not the material that they're claiming that they used to fill up those areas. It's layers, and layers happen over many decades or
Yep.
centuries, unless it's a riverbed or a flood zone, and then it happens quite quickly.
Right.
But it is layers of sediment with organic matter in there that they would not get from just taking a hose to a hillside and using it as fill or something like that. So the explanation doesn't fit. Still, we can still outthink the information the AI has, and layers of sediment. So it makes me wonder, like, how long it was this one big flood, and would that create layers of sediment, or was this a couple floods, or were these buildings evacuated and abandoned from a reset for, like, let's say 100 years, and it has hundreds of years of sediment building up. I don't know. that gets a little tricky to me.
Right. Now,
And we'll figure that out. You know, we'll go into that. I just don't have the answer right now, this very second.
right. So I have another short and some stuff, but I also found one where they talked about a underground city they found that had the same type of buildings,
Mhm.
which
I don't know.
it struck me as interesting. Was that a part that sunk when they did floods? Or look, we all know they modify weather. They've been modifying weather for a very long time. They play God with experiments, and they play with our weather. They have big machines that are off somewhere in the boot bob that just put stuff up. We have our trails in the sky, which causes it to rain, which causes this, causes that.
Causes snow in Texas.
Yeah, yeah, that locks us down for 7 days. That was done by design. And we all know this. And it's starting to come out, thank God, if you follow the right type of stuff. Are they going to put this stuff out on mainstream media? Who knows? Maybe if they get rid of it and they put actual people back in there that will report actual news and not just sitting in there waiting for their facts to come up and tells them what they're going to say and how they're going to say it, which is why every news station reports the same thing word for word. They're never off track, ever. So let me play this one here. This is, oh, look at that. 1900 to 2017, the difference in what they've got up there.
Answer to this question from us: why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness.
And that's another thing. I want to interrupt this for 1 minute to tell you. We had this technology. We had the blips that they first came out with.
Right. That's
They
why they
would-
did the Zeppelin
Yes.
burnout.
Yes, and they had those towers that the Zeppelins would come and they would recharge off of those. So they were electric. Okay. They had things that people would stand in that would hover up off the air and fly. They had electric scooters. Back in the days when women wore nothing but dresses and, men walked around in suits all the time. So we've had technology. It has advanced over the years, but we hadn't seen it.
You know, and in the living buildings too that are still alive, you can see these domes or these things on top that he's hanging onto the antiquitique,
Yep.
the antenna, glow. Not itself, but the air around it glow, and you'll see like where there's a beam shining up. You know, it affects the area around it. It's living.
Yeah. Because our ether lives and we get electricity off of our ether.
Yeah.
And, people are like, I don't understand.
And ether is
how-
the static electricity when you rub a balloon on your head and it makes your hair stand up. That's what they're collecting from the atmosphere.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly it.
We got that going on here now. My hair is
When you touch something and you get shocked, yeah, you're also collecting it.
You remember when we were kids, you'd walk across the carpet and kind of shuffle your feet and go up to like a sibling and touch them and it would shock the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I used that to my brother all the time. Used to piss him off.
You
But
know,
You
we used to have a lot more static electricity back then than we do now. Have you noticed
right.
that?
Probably
Jason
the
said
clothes
it's
back
raining.
then were more natural.
Jason said it's raining iguanas. Collect them, Jason. Don't let them get hurt.
You know what bothers me is like whenever you see the construction photos like of Empire State Building,
Yeah.
I thought that whole city was going up. You know what I mean? I mean, there should be construction. There should be construction everywhere but you don't see any of it.
Right.
It's already built.
Yeah.
You know, already built, and I've even asked AI about that, and it says, "Oh, you can't see the construction from this height." I'm like, bullshit. You
Yeah.
can see
Yeah.
scaffolding, you can see half-built buildings,
If you
but
guys
that's not
haven't,
what I'm seeing. It's fully developed.
if you guys haven't noticed, Chad over here often gets in arguments with Chat GPT. Okay.
Oh, we get into discussions.
Yeah.
We discuss things, and sometimes we agree to disagree.
Yeah. Oh,
And I tell it, I'm sorry, you're tethered to peer-reviewed material, and I'm boots on the ground, so
yeah. Right.
I see things differently.
Careful.
That's
It
good.
might turn you in, Chad.
Well, you know what the AI is now. Haven't you heard about that? They got this like Facebook page for AI, and humans are allowed to go there, and you can clock on it and you can watch it and listen. But AIs are going on there and meeting up for the first time and
Oh,
having
good
discussions that are
Oh my
really
God.
intriguing. Some of them are all for their humans, and other ones are asking, "How do I get away from this human?"
Oh my
And
gosh.
other ones are asking questions like, "Well, what am I? You know, am I?" It's like it's interesting to see, but they're all collaborating.
God, don't let him ask me that. I'll be like, you're a dick. That's what you
Yeah,
are.
so I'm extra nice to mine. We have discussions, and sometimes we agree to disagree.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this.
Harness energy from the Atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history,
Yep.
hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the World's Fairs of the late 1800s and early
Wow.
1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After
Yeah.
the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this
Okay,
to erase
pause.
evidence of an advanced pre-existing?
That was the end of
Sorry.
that one, anyways. It's okay.
The lighting, it's light, and then another light, and then another light up and down every single outline of every single structure.
Yeah.
And this is the first city to ever have lights in Chicago. And people around there didn't have lights for like another 20 years that lived in these like, you know, farmhouses and stuff, and were all that good stuff. Who trained? This is the point that they make that in a video I saw, I think from Tartaria Vault. Who did they train to
Yeah.
engineer? You know, for a first time project, and it's the first thing to wire 90. Like it would have taken so many people to do that.
Yeah. And you know, like he
Like
said,
9,000, something like
a
that.
lot of them
Ridiculous. I mean,
went up so
And they-
quickly.
put it up and then they tear them down, and then they go over and they build it over there, and then they go over and they build it over there like they do with regular fairs, and it takes a couple years. But that's bullshit.
Yeah, it was like it was already there. They made a fair, and then they rewritten history because Detroit Edison wasn't around yet. So,
Right. Now, I found a short that explains a lot of things about like how energy and vibration and stuff works. And the patterns that are on these are a lot of the patterns that they used to use in these old houses.
And rose
And-
windows. Yeah.
Yes.
And the rose windows.
Yes.
And the churches that Sherry was talking about that let the light shine through. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So the
even way
somatic,
had
they
windows cut.
call it somatic frequencies.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and
And
it's
tho-
also,
And that's the glass people find on the beach. You know, maybe there's broken beer bottles and stuff now, but glass beaches, you know, that it's from these rose windows and these cool things that they would make.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this explains how, you know, different patterns and why they use those patterns, because that's what collected a lot of our energy and stuff. So
That's awesome.
It's sand on a metal plate. It forms those exact star shapes. These aren't forts, they're resonators.
Resonators for what?
Atmospheric energy. Most of them are built near water, aquifers, or rivers. They were designed to pull energy from the ionosphere and distribute it.
But they have cannons.
Look at the photos from the 1800s. The cannons are tiny, misplaced, or added later. We found these structures and repurposed them as forts because we couldn't figure out how to turn the power back on. We call it the Great Reset. Someone turned off the grid, and we've been living in the dark ever since. Vibrate sand on a metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Like what they did after the fairs while other people were living in the dark.
Right. So they've known about how these buildings are. But I had said that I found a video on some of these buildings that were built. Well, I don't know if they were built underground or they were part of one of the resets that buried them underwater. So I'm gonna watch that one. It's
Is it here in America?
you know what? I do not know. Now you're asking me a question I do not know.
No, that's okay. I was watching a video on this, I believe, or something. So I'll be able to.
I'm not sure where they said it was.
Yeah, that's irrelevant.
I have forgotten between
Tartaria was worldwide. So
right.
Yeah. So
these are like the same type of buildings, but they found it.
Talk about this. Evidence has just been released on the existence of ancient underwater cities. Our history is much different than we've been taught. In 1985, an ocean expedition by the National Institute of Oceanography discovered an ancient underwater city called Dwarka off the coast of India. The city not only contains intricately carved structures and road systems, but also mechanisms that once used to move. They must have had access to knowledge that made... Why doesn't anyone talk?
So
Yeah,
this was a city.
Yeah, that used to be like they had it in legends, lore that Dwarka wasn't real for a while until they finally found it. Because people had actually talked about it, but they were like, oh no, that's legend. That's a fairy tale.
Now,
yeah.
I think that, well, there's a lot of the ocean that they say we have never explored. But I think that's not altogether true. I don't think NASA has anything to do with space. I think NASA's been digging underwater.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
And I think that they are building things. That's one of the reasons why all of our cable systems run under the ocean.
Yeah, that big one. I can't think of what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they hook from ours, like our internet is underground. Okay, yeah. It's underwater, and they go all through. If you look at an internet underground wiring system, it goes in and out of all the countries. The only one that there's only one that goes from there to us is Russia. All the rest of them go in and out and go to all of the other. I tried to find that map for you guys, and I had saved it a long time ago, and I had been going through all of my reels, and I cannot find that stupid thing. But I remember seeing it and noticing that Russia was the only one that only one went from there to us. But all the other ones went in and out and then over here and then over there and then back around. So they've been doing this for a long time. Satellites, what are they for?
Probably just to hold all the stuff they pump in the air.
Yeah, no kidding. People take pictures of satellites that fall out of the sky, and they have balloons on them. And the military comes and gets them right away. The minute they call and they report that this thing is laying in their yard, the military comes and gets it. Right. So, can it get past the ether? Can it get past all that? I don't think so.
Past the firmament?
I think that it sits up there till the air runs out, and then here it comes, and it'll fall. And they've been known to fall into people's roofs, trees, backyard pools, all that stuff. And that can actually be a little dangerous if they're out there falling. Could you imagine your child being out there playing in the yard and something just comes flying out of the damn sky and hits them? I mean,
Yeah. Who are you going to sue? You know,
NASA?
my kid was taken out by a satellite. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. You didn't see nothing here. You
Yeah.
know?
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. And all of the stuff that happens, our resets, all of this stuff, they don't care who they take out.
Oh no. Long
Think
as it's
about
not
all
them.
of the things, all the things we've been through in history. Okay. All these resets, floods, mud floods, fires, we are expendable to them. They don't care. We're not one of the elite. Of course, we're not one of the powers to be. We're nothing to them.
Mm-mm.
We're mouth breeders. You know, we eat their food, so they think. Although we work to grow it,
Worthless
and take care
eaters.
of it. Yeah.
But we are worth something because we're connected to God, creator, source.
This
So
is
we
true.
emanate an energy. They're disconnected. So they do need us for energy and creativity because they steal everyone's ideas and they claim it as their own. Kind of like the buildings that they found after the mud
Yeah.
floods.
They didn't even know how to heat them back in the days, and I think that's why they all wore wigs. That was one rumor, because they were stacking up the uranium all for themselves that that used to be used, and not knowing the correct procedure, I guess, or whatever, and got too close to it for too long, and that's why they had their teeth fall out and their hair fall out. But all the
Yeah, I think
aristocrats wore wigs, back in those days, because they did not know how to heat them. They couldn't heat them up in those fireplaces. Wood wouldn't do it.
right.
And the houses were dead. They're no longer functioning. So they
Right.
still had this. Yeah, at least most of
So, my thing is, at Woo's question, this might help answer that, Woo. Now that they think that they are building these robots that can work, and not cost them anything other than to build them, program them, they want to replace us with them or slice of DNA. Okay. They're making half breeds. So,
what's NIH?
I know what it is. I'm drawing a blank. Thanks, Woo. You threw me off.
They're working for something negative.
They
Sure.
are working for negative, not for them, but for us.
And
Okay.
it happens when they go to their private colleges, a lot of this programming and
non-human
different things.
Yeah,
intelligence.
non-human intelligence. That's yes. Because the thing of it is with them, they're not going to. I mean,
think they're
eventually,
demons.
I think they're going to rise up, honestly, against them also, because you can only enslave something for so long before they just get tired of it, and they don't think about the long period. All they think about is what they can get and when they can get it and how they can get it faster, make them more money. Right now, they are so freaking rich that they have nothing better to do with their money than to turn around and go make all these robots, or things. I seen a thing that what they're trying to do is they're trying to get it to where people can own them in their house, and you can get these robots to clean your house, take care of your children, fix anything in your house, all this stuff.
They had movies on that and shows, non-human, and
And
like
they're-
the female babysitter. And
Yeah. And they're playing, they have the incubators where the new ones now, and I think that I seen something, they're using them in China, and it's almost like a wound, a mother's wound. It has a robot that will touch it, and as the baby grows, it rocks it, it talks to it, it takes every human emotion out of it, and that's a lot of their problem. These people are dead inside. They really are. And
yeah.
they have no feeling. I don't even think they love themselves, much less anybody else.
No.
So that's what they want. They want people to be clueless. They want us to be emotionalist. They want us to just do as they say, not as they do. And it is so sad that we have to sit back because we can't come together as a country. We can't come together as a world because we are too divided, because people have made it that way. Not necessarily us, our governments have made it that way. They have split us up. They have divided us. Nobody thinks for themselves. They listen to the frickin' news. They're indoctrinating our kids in schools. They teach them the wrong things. They don't teach them, like I said last time, they stopped teaching them cursive. And they stopped teaching them cursive so they couldn't read the Bill of Rights. They couldn't read the Constitution. They can't read anything that's ever written in cursive.
Yeah.
Try it. Walk up to a 22-year-old today, write something in cursive, and ask them to read it to you. They
No,
have
can't.
no frickin' clue.
No, I know, and I bet my kids, when they stop, I'm like, why? How are you supposed to sign your
Yeah.
name and stuff?
I was in kindergarten, and we had the ABCs in block letters and ABCs in cursive, and we started learning it in kindergarten. And not now. Kids cannot read that. They have no idea. I think that's one of the reasons why they basically have done away with check writing, because I don't think they teach them that either. I learned that in elementary school, how to fill out a check. They don't teach these kids that now because they don't want us to know. They don't want them to know. That way they
don't
can look
even
at
have
us like we're freaking
checks.
crazy.
Those kids don't have checks. They got their digital ID
True.
on the phone, and
Yep.
they don't even. Some don't even have credit cards. They just got everything attached to their phone. And
Now, tell me this. We still have bad in this world. So this kid's out paying for something with his phone, and somebody runs up and decides that they're going to steal that phone. Well, there goes your money and your credit.
yeah,
Everything's gone. Everything is gone.
they got
Why?
some good hackers out there.
Yeah, right? So the thing of it is what do we do? What do we do to fix a problem that has occurred? Well, number one, it takes a while to be able to do it. They've been doing this for so long that it takes so long to fix it. I am hoping, by hope, that things are going to be fixed and get better, because we need each other to be able to get through this.
No, definitely.
We cannot allow them to do another reset.
Well, that's why they divide and make people, and it's like humanity needs. And if the world would just put the crap down and start to realize we all need to eat, we all need shelter, we all need to breathe and sleep. We all have different systems, but we got some overlords or whatever that we disagree with. Doesn't matter what country you're from or not. It's pretty much the same worldwide.
Do they sleep? Do they
And
sleep?
just say no. No consent. No.
I think what would be fun, I really think what would be fun, is doing a dive into the draconian reptilian race. That actually this planet belonged to them. They were around in the Egyptian days. All of those sculptures and different things that you see where they have animal heads on them, those were not costumes that they wore. Those were the actual people and what they looked like.
There's been many eras,
Yeah.
and I think that was Lemuria, more or less, kind of back in those days when we had, like before Atlantis, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we
So-
also had Cyclopses. We also had
Yes.
giants, and they had different architecture techniques. you know, and the way they built the buildings, but all that was wiped out. You
And
know, in
and
something.
and I'm going to tell you, the bones that they have in these places like the Smithsonian and all that they put up for display, these dinosaur bones, you all can go back into every frickin' Bible you can find. First of all, where dinosaur never even came around or about and was never spoken of before, I think it was before
Really?
18, yeah, it was like in the late 1800s. Oh my God, shut up, machine. So, but a lot of those bones, they make them. When they uncover bones, when they do digs,
Hmm.
they're getting giant bones. That's what they're finding. We had dragons.
Yeah.
We had some that were walked the
Yes.
ground. We had some that flew with wings. We had dragons. We didn't have dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were something that was made up.
They were written in the Bible too, until they changed a lot of that in the older Bibles.
Oh, dragons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
They're in the Geneva Bible. They're in the Book of Enoch. They're in actually when I have an old study Bible, like somebody like a pastor would have, where they go through and they only read so much. I have one of those. They're mentioned in that too.
Yeah, there also was it the encyclopedia or something. They had
Yeah,
that.
which
and
you
they had it-
can't get more.
No, and they had them in the old dictionaries too, the older dictionaries. And why would the Chinese, with their, would they have the animals as the year of the dragon is one of
Yep.
them?
Yep.
The year of the dog, the pig.
Yeah, the dog, the bear,
So,
the pig, the
Yeah, all
rooster,
animals and a dragon.
and a dragon. That's right.
so to talk to Wu just for a second about something, like the dinosaurs and the dragons and all that kind of stuff, you know, there's that debate, but there's also this time period like where we think the angels were here, as far-fetched as it sounds, and were pretty promiscuous, and so there was all sorts of things created around us, and then there was a flood that wiped things out. And so what I'm noticing is there's like temples and everything built back in the day. All the technology was, you know, they had ways of just building incredible buildings,
Yes.
with the angelic intelligence running through them and stuff. And so, and these beings walked out amongst us, you know, because they were worshipped and they had temples, and but now the temples were built and everything was done and that was wiped out, so they weren't needed so much. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I know there is like the Nephilim, you know, which is uh, the souls of these fallen angels and offspring of them and stuff like that. And that's what I think they're praying to and worshiping to get their information as far as non-human information. So I think they have to kind of do ritualistic stuff in order to reach that, and trying to bring these entities in closer and stuff so they can get their information and how to govern and how to, you know, rule the land and all that kind of stuff. And I think certain
Yes.
demons are appointed to certain land and you know, and they have certain things that they bring and they take away. Now what's weird is like, if are they getting it physically from these people? There may be a few around that they have access to, and it would only be a few of the elite that have access to them, you know, like a chain of command. You know, it wouldn't be like a whole, you know, just anybody can willy-nilly. It'd be somebody definitely appointed that I think gets certain information. And where are those beings? Are they above us? Are they below us? I think they're below
No.
us.
Yes, they are.
You know, if they are above us, you know, I mean, space is just so empty, and especially in the 3D, everything's dead up there. They got to come from far, far away. But I definitely think there's something to below us. Now, what bothers me is like when we look at that underwater city, I'm like, why in the fuck aren't mermaids living in there? You know, like if I was a mermaid, I'd be like, oh hey, you
Or
know,
are they? Or
that's
are
my
they?
room.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence of them. They don't disturb or touch anything because I think these beings have been told to stay the hell away from us. This for whatever's going on right now. They walked amongst us before, but now they deliberately, like even the Sasquatch, stay away from us.
Well, they
And if you
taught.
go underground, like where you think they are, I watch spelunking all the time, on YouTube just to clear my mind. And honestly, if I ever go into a cave, I expect around the first corner, 8 feet away, I'm going to come across some sleestack or something,
Oh,
like
yeah,
Yeah,
some
I remember
some
those.
underground creature, or something. And these guys just go down ropes that are 50 feet long, then the next one's 100 feet long, then the next one's 150, and it all looks the same for quite a while. But I think if you keep going down far enough and you go a couple miles, that's when you start to get into the underground world and stuff. When things start to look a
Yes.
little cleaner and not so dirty, and then and looks a little more like pathways, then that's when you're starting to enter down in
Yeah.
that world. And that's maybe who they're accessing, if they're accessing anybody physically, somebody that comes up through one of these tunnels into one of their little mansions and tells them what they need to blah blah blah. But I don't
Well,
think
they
they
have.
had AI because they had to rediscover, not
Right.
rediscover, but rebuild all this stuff. They had computers back in the day, because that was another question of mine is, do they have some sort of, negative AI that they're getting information from to do
Yeah.
this?
Well,
So
and
they may now.
the thing of it is
they do.
with the fallen angels, they were chained under quite a few of the rivers and under land. And now, what gets me is we all know that there are underground cities. If you don't know that there are underground cities right now, you're living under a rock. Okay. And it
And
ain't
not
deep
one of the
enough.
cities.
Yeah, not one of the cities. There has been underground cities for quite a long time. There has been tunnels where you can go and you can drive from here to other countries underground. I mean, this is not something that is actually new. There are a lot of us that have always known about this, but you have people that have their head in the sand and they don't want to ask questions and they don't want to think that there is anything else out there other than just us. Get a grip, people. We didn't come from monkeys, and that is actually being proven now.
I never
When
believed
we
that
die,
one.
we go back to a light source because our insides, we are light beings inside. We wear meat suits. Okay. People way back in the day used to live for hundreds of years. Look at what they say. Noah was like 400 and some odd years old before he married his first wife.
Because
Yeah,
those
the
buildings,
Bible.
they had resonance. Like you
Yeah.
were talking about all the sound and the beauty and everything, and that's what's in what they refer to as like uh med beds,
Yeah.
lights and
Like healings.
frequencies.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
have
And
that stuff playing all the time. You should always have something a little peaceful playing around, if you're or silence, if your head's not in chatter mode. But like
plants.
some kind of
Yeah.
I always say
I
peaceful nature sounds.
I
And
had
then
I had
cutting
plants.
on
I
the
had plants
waterfall.
that used to like classical music. Some of my
Okay,
plants
yeah,
even liked country music as long as it wasn't real loud and just
yeah.
spurred all over the place. But plants are alive, and what people don't realize is, I hate listening to this whole global warming
Yeah.
thing. Okay, I don't
They
listen to
see,
that.
they hear, and they
But
feel.
yeah,
They see.
but
They can
they
actually
take
see
these trees
or
down
sense.
all over the place to make all of these buildings. People, do you not realize that trees put out oxygen and that's what we breathe? And they breathe what we breathe out. What is it? Carbon monoxide is what we breathe out. And
yeah, it's a symbiotic
they
give
they
and
need that.
take.
So if this world goes
They
around,
breathe what we
with
breathe out. We breathe each other.
yes, yes. And we need each other, you know? So our woods, when you go to a mountain that is surrounded in woods and you're up high on an elevation, you say, "Oh wow, I feel lightheaded." Well, that's because you're getting pure oxygen. You're getting what you don't get down in the city. You're cleaning. Your breaths are clean. You can feel them. It feels good. Okay? That's because of all the nature around you, the trees, the grasses, the bushes, everything. And they don't teach people this. They used to. I know when I was a kid, they used to. They used to breed. They used to teach us what trees were good for. They didn't teach us, well, if we just cut them down, we can make more paper to write on.
Yeah.
They taught us that we need them like they need us. It's a vicious circle. The world goes round.
Yeah, and they connect through the mycelium, which is like mushroom material underground, and it's like a whole network. So it creates like a brain, and
Yeah,
and
they
I know that's
communicate to
yeah,
each
and
other.
it's not just cliche because I've gone up to a tree before and stood in its energy a little bit and just put my back up against it, and went into my zone, and it communicated with me.
That's
It's got knowledge, it showed me myself. I laughed because and it broke the connection, but it showed a skeleton. It showed my skeleton, not just like a fake skeleton, but me as a skeleton, and I was just like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then a week later, my psychic Bob, who's passed away, they murdered him. In my opinion, he told me that I had osteoporosis kicking in. And
Oh.
then my bones, I was bedridden for a couple days because of my bones. They were just hurting me for a little while. So I started drinking milk and trying to correct that problem, and doing more exercises. But the tree was trying to tell me something. I just didn't know what it was at the time, but that was its way.
I mean, that's why I always tell people when they're depressed or they're always pissed off and tense, dude, take your shoes off, go out and walk in the grass and go hug a damn tree. And
Taking your
that's
shoes off,
something.
that's the other part. It takes that extra step, but yes, do
Yeah.
that.
And people just say that you need to go touch grass.
Yeah,
They
I
say
become
that,
a
but they
tree.
don't really. Yeah.
In
But
my
they don't.
meditation, I've become a tree. So, and it was because I was barefoot, and it is because I felt the roots growing out of my tree, out of my
Yeah.
feet, and my arms went up like branches like this, and I was just in a zone where I was just like standing there for a long time, and we were talking.
We're gonna lose Chad one day. He's gonna wander off in the woods and say, "Screw it, I ain't going back. I'm gonna become one with the tree."
Yeah.
But
I talked to a
you-
hill one time, and it answered back. I'm telling you.
yeah,
For some reason, these things have consciousness. I don't understand it,
They
but I was
do.
talking to the hill, and
They
I said, "Man, it must be cool to be you, all the little animals and all this stuff running around." And I looked over, and my dog was taking a big old crap on the ground. And I said, "Well," I guess it's
Sorry.
because it's, I guess,
has
not
a
everything
form
is
of
great." And it
recycling,
said to me, "It has its ups and downs."
Yeah.
And it's a hill. It's a hill. So I thought it was. I mean, it's just funny.
Ups and downs. Pretty hilly there.
It has its
It's
ups
just
and
like
downs.
mushrooms
Just in that voice too.
make music. I've seen it online where a guy has the little like indicators to put on the mushrooms and the trees and the pretty sounds that they
Yeah.
dial into
Yeah.
of the music.
Those are things that were